Welcome everybody to our weekly Soul Changes Lives webinar. I am Debbie Perez Cockburn. I'm the moderator for this webinar. I just want to remind everyone that no one on the panel is a doctor. We are not doctors. We do not prescribe. We do not see patients. We don't treat diseases. We are simply health enthusiasts, and we use adaptogenic herbs to help the body do what it normally knows how to do when we give it the right material. And I think I have a testimonial this week with Becky Boyles. Becky, are you ready? If you are, open your microphone and we'll start with a testimonial this week, and then I'll do an intro to our class. Becky.
My testimony is on Vertizymes Incomplete. Having had a lot of gut issues, Vertizymes Incomplete is what helped me get over a lot of that. Leaky gut and gut issues, no gallbladder. So I had plenty gut issues, and taking Vertizymes before I eat and at night on an empty stomach, and doing the complete, just at least a tablespoon 3 times a day, is helping to heal my gut up. And I don't have all the side effects. Even I had gluten intolerance, and that is going away. I can't eat it all the time, but if I have a little bit or cross-contamination, it no longer affects me with all the bloating and headaches and everything I used to get. So still having a lot of improvement come along with those products.
That's awesome, Becky. I love to hear that, especially this week, because when we talk about a product that is healing and nutritious and beneficial in so many ways, you've talked a little bit about one of my favorite products, which is Soul Complete. I adore that product. And you've probably heard me say every week, I love that product. I love this product. I love them all. I truly do love them all. But that's wonderful to hear, Becky. I'm so glad, because so many people have leaky gut problems now, and gluten intolerance, and that whole intestinal discomfort that comes with it, and pain, really a lot of pain. And I'm so glad to hear that you are feeling better and that you are doing better. That's awesome. I know it makes Greg smile, grow even bigger every time he hears a testimony like that. And I don't want to take too much time on the introduction. As I said, this week we're talking about a wonderful product called AvantGreens. AvantGreens is a very special formulation that Soul Naturals has put together. And when I first learned about AvantGreens, I always considered it a wonderful product for digestion, like Becky was talking about, but I always associated it with liver. Of course, what happens when you restudy a program or restudy a product, you learn so much more the second, third, fourth time that you hear it. And I had forgotten how this product had been developed. And so what I decided to do, with Greg's help, was divide this product into 3 weeks worth of webinars. And we will be examining 3 areas that AvantGreens can really help you with. Obviously, in any product that Soul has that is based on adaptogenic herbs, it can be used for many different things. So I never like to pigeonhole our products into one thing or one category. But as you noticed, it has a green label, so it is part of our balance category. That will make a lot of sense to you when you hear the explanation this week that Greg is going to help us with and help us understand based on a few presentations that Dr. Allison Caldwell Andrews did for Soul when this product first came on the market. We're going to divide it, like I said, into 3 discussions. This week, we will be talking about how AvantGreens can help the hormonal system or the endocrine system, particularly fatigued thyroid and fatigued adrenal glands. Next week, we will be exploring how AvantGreens is a wonderful part of a detox program. Pardon me. I'm so excited because I've been doing so many things today, so I can barely speak straight. And then on the 3rd week, we will explore how AvantGreens can help us in absorption, which I think, Becky, you're really going to love, considering what you've mentioned today. And here to tell us about this wonderful product called AvantGreens is our dear friend, Greg Halliday, who happens to be the CEO and president of Soul Naturals and also one of its founders. Greg, welcome. Thank you. I made you a co-host, so I think you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Deb, and just really happy to be here with everyone today. And Becky, thanks for sharing. I love hearing people's successes. Learn a little something every time. This presentation, like Debbie said, is from Dr. Allison. And I'm just going to try to pass along everything that she taught us. This product was a good 2 years at least in development. And there were a lot of different specific objectives for this. And one of them was to have a really good sprouted green nutrition product. That's one of the objectives. But when it comes to health balances and imbalances, kind of like Debbie said, when we give the right material, the body knows what it wants to do, and it does look to get in balance. I really believe that. And part of it is just finding the right material and how much we need. What are good times of the day for us to use them. Kind of like, Becky's figured out, she's using Vertizyme several times a day. And just discovering when our needs are and how frequent they are for each of us individually is a big part. And it's the same thing with this product. It can be a little bit more than one time a day, or you can do it all at once, and there's different ways to use it. But Dr. Allison, when she talked about this, she used the phrase change everything, because she's trying to say this in a green label in the balance category. So the characteristics of the balanced green label products are really dense nutrition and meant for daily use so that maximum longevity can happen. So for that to happen, the body has to detox properly, right? I mean, several things have to happen that are natural processes that our body was created to carry out, unless something gets in the way, blocks it. Stress can do that. A lot of things can do that, of course. Chemicals, other expressions, gene expression of things we maybe inherited. And then the way our lifestyle is, they express themselves and they get in the way of these processes. So Dr. Allison's viewpoint is, if you want, it doesn't matter what you need to change or what you want to change. You need to address these core issues. And they were built into this product. And if you will, and if we will, then whatever it is we're working on, we can go from there. That's sort of how she looks at this product, okay? So it's very nutritional. So Debbie mentioned the 3 different trainings. This is actually the 3rd. We're gonna go in reverse order. Debbie wanted to do it in reverse order, which works great by me. She's saying, okay, this one's gonna be about peak functioning. Why there's so much in this formula. In other words, once we got the right materials there, how good is the body at transforming them? And that's and so when she talks about this, she basically draws the connection to stress and the thyroid and our adrenals, that those are a big component and they get in the way, or we can get in our own way. Life, the particular life we're going through can get in the way of this. And we're looking in other places for the answer when it's really here. That's kind of how I received this training. So I'm gonna jump over and right into some ingredients. She starts right out with, okay, when you look at this high nutrition group, there are 2 superstars in her opinion, watercress, and that's the first one. And it usually catches people by surprise. What? I don't know, unless you're really into greens. People usually say watercress. There was a study in 2014. It was #1 of all the most common table, mealtime veggies, fruits and veggies, watercress. Why? Well, take a look at it right here. More iron than spinach, more calcium than milk, more vitamin C than oranges. How's that for a start? Eating it reduces DNA damage to cells. Something that most of us don't really understand. But the more you get in and study and learn, you can see how more and more of what is altering our health nowadays is actually or can damage DNA. So it's a big issue. So watercress was a champ, and she told us, look, Greg, we can put lots of different things in it, but two things that are non-negotiable in her mind: watercress and this one, aronia berry, which is black choke cherry. Very, very high antioxidant, Very effective. In fact, it does better in studies than cranberry for UTIs. Improving blood flow and the health of blood, and pretty much every aspect of that, including sugars, how the energy gets to cells, how the cells receive them. But also on the mental side, because all of Solle products, we choose plants that kind of have a more pronounced activity in both of these areas, the emotional, cognitive side, along with just purely, I guess, physical. If anything's purely physical, probably not. And it protects neurons and memory. Those are some studies with aronia. So it's a superstar. Then we added those to sprouts. So you got the sprouts, and then you also have the sprouted seeds. You have both in this, and that's why it kind of can be a little crunchy, right? If you've used it before. Really high in enzymes, that's why sprouts. Match between a 10 and 100 times higher in certain nutrients than the mature plant would be, is the sprout. That's why there's the answer to sprouts. 10 or 100 times more of the good stuff than you'd find in that same plant when it's mature. Increased of a lot of key aspects of it, vitamin C and chlorophyll and vitamins and minerals. Now, a couple of these sprouts in here are quinoa and amaranth. People call them grains. They're not really grains, they're just seeds, but they're used like grains. They have all the essential amino acids. They're actually high in omegas, lots of good omega-3s. So sprouts are wonder food. They're wonder food. And we've got, I think it's 5 of them. I'd have to go back and count in the formula. A couple of them are sprouted seeds, and the others are purely sprouts. And then we added hemp flour. So it's hemp seed just ground into flour. Again, a great ratio of omegas in this. There are certain amino acids in hemp that help us detoxify. If the body can detoxify, then the body can stay young longer, can stay effective longer, has better defenses, immune system. There's all sorts of great benefits for a good cyclical, I even think on a daily basis, proper detox that the body does. The sweetness that you taste is from monk fruit. Monk fruit's called longevity fruit in China. And it's actually got good healthy fats in it, protein, vitamin C, minerals. There have been some immune system studies and some digestive aid studies with Lohan, and all of them really beneficial. I think it's not nearly as studies as it's going to be over the next 10 years. It's just starting to get more fame here in the US. So what does this all lead to? Well, the topic of this training for Dr. Allison was your adrenals and thyroid. And her comment, I think I mentioned it, and the relationship to the way we're responding to stress and handling stress in our life is central to everything, how we sleep, how we eat, how we repair. And so we need all this good nutrition, but we have to manage the stress, or else we're not going to benefit as much as we can bring good nutrients to the doorway. They'll never get inside the house. So in her mind, adrenal and thyroid support was the #1 focus of AvantGreens. In her mind, it was the biggest thing, even though the product development did not begin this way, but as it began forming itself, this is how she saw it, and she still sees it today. Because untreated adrenal fatigue and low thyroid output or activity causes premature aging and a number of stress states of being that we have names for. Good to be able to digest well, our metabolism, the way we create energy, the way we detox, it's absolutely critical, all of that, to how our hormones function. So that is why she says, change everything with this, change everything with AvantGreens. So she does a little reminder, remember where the adrenals are, they sit right on top of our kidneys, right? There are some pretty important hormones involved, and they're made from cholesterol. Not all cholesterol is bad, right? And these things, these secretions manage a lot of pretty important things in the body. And like Debbie pointed this out yesterday, when the kidney health is bad, you don't expect to have adrenals functioning properly. Look where they sit. and the relationship. When we have a lot of salt cravings, low blood pressure, those are some signs of adrenal fatigue. And they are also imbalances in kidneys. So she talks about a few things, and I apologize, some things I'm going to skip over more rapidly. But she does talk about cortisol. Big topic, right? We need it to run the body well. She talks about other secretions from the adrenals that help us cope with stress. They're all there to help us cope, but some of those things act really fast. They ramp up fast and they go down fast. And then there's cortisol. She spends several minutes talking to us about how cortisol is different, how cortisol builds up more slowly, has more of a cumulative effect, and it also goes away and dissipates more slowly. And this is why we have so much problem, because if the stress doesn't ever go away in today's busy lifestyle, if we're keeping too high a level and the body flips into reactive mode, we keep cortisol levels in a way that impede health instead of help it. It's supposed to help maintain a proper blood pressure, a healthy heart, a good immune response, good blood sugar levels, regulate how we process all of our nutrients, okay? But in tough times, things change, okay? And things get overridden, right? Like running from a fire. We all know this, okay? So in Allison's point of view, our body was made to once in a while do this, not to have to do it every day. She calls it like a bank, and you put, you got to put money in the bank, and then you have these withdrawals where you take it out and use it in times of stress. The problem is we're using it too much. We're using it throughout the day, and there's nothing left to give. And then the adrenals start to become shot, and then the thyroid does as well. So this is kind of the quick version. Well, cortisol, as I mentioned earlier, it's released at the start of this whole process, but it needs time and momentum, time to ramp up and time to slow down. And what happens is constant stress sabotages that, and we get way too much. And so we get fluid imbalance, we get blood pressure problems. And look at this, okay? When the cortisol is out of balance, things like anything that has to do with our reproductive system get out of whack, digestion gets out of whack, our immune response is either too severe or non-existent or very, very weak. So it affects all the normal reactions to stresses in life. What gets minimized, okay? Well, evidences that this is getting minimized. We're sick a lot more often. When we get cuts, they take long to heal. Irregular menstruation or infertility, etc. We have problems with blood sugar, the number one problem, or number two, whatever it is in the US. And our fats, we just store them. We just store them, deep belly fat, We don't burn them. They're a more efficient burn than glucose because they don't create free radicals, and we don't use it. So I'm jumping now because she's just driving home this point that I've probably not explained as well as she does. But there's a connection between too much stress and cortisol levels and everything else that kind of is typically ailing people nowadays. So we get to adrenal fatigue, which almost everyone is experiencing to one degree or another. And it keeps building until we get to a point where we shut down. We just don't think that's her comment is I can't. We get to the point of I just can't. Because reactions are so varied, so many processes are interrupted in the body, and it just feels like we just can't handle the normal day. So we get more meltdowns than we used to, more overwhelmed. And she says testing for adrenal fatigue is not very good. She's speaking from the medical side of things. It is often underdiagnosed. It's often not detected properly. Clinically, there's not a good track record of this, of really understanding what it is. And part of the reason is she says these two go hand in hand. Thyroid and adrenals are hand in hand. So here's something she put. Here are 3 pages of symptoms. How can you tell if you're maybe in a more pronounced situation there where you need to take more than just a casual, um, resolve to change something in your health, okay? If any of this applies, fatigue, lethargy, sleep difficulties, trouble regulating body temperature, okay? Especially in the mornings, a low body temperature in the mornings. Not much can happen exercise, tired really quickly, feeling unmotivated, difficulty concentrating, brain fog. Cravings, lots of cravings, mood swings, any number of emotional, let's call them imbalances, frequently getting sick, low blood pressure, blood sugar swings, lightheadedness, like from, sitting down to standing up, trembling, sometimes trembling when there's a lot of stress or pressure, sort of upper back or neck pain without a real reason, like you didn't, fall or jerk yourself. All of a sudden you just sort of feel the pains. Digestive problems, sensitive to light, strong odors, loud noise, an overactive heart, fast pulse, tendency to gain weight, especially these are all the symptoms dealing with this fatigue. Not even done yet. Increased symptoms of PMS, reduced sex drive, hair loss, thinning or brittle, loss of the outer 1/3 of eyebrow hair, an interesting one. So she just gives a lot of guidance. And we're, most of us are in a lot of those places more frequently, and most people we know. Okay, so this product is really important to combine several adaptogens with all the nutrients that I already had introduced, the hemp and the sprouts, et cetera, because we have to deal with the stress levels. And that's why we have the trio of adaptogens in AvantGreens: holy basil, licorice, and American ginseng. Those three. Three really stars, really high stars in the adaptogen world. Holy basil, calming the entire central nervous system. Licorice, which is probably used in 90% of traditional Chinese formulas as the key kind of cornerstone adaptogen. It's misunderstood here because a lot of things have been published about that just flat out aren't true, because they talk about the glycerides in it, and what happens is it's been altered. But if it's used in its pure form, it's a pure 100% adaptogen. Problem is it's altered a lot, and so you get some misunderstanding about what licorice is here. American ginseng is another good one. So what do these three do? Well, just real quickly, DHEA goes up with licorice. Cortisol levels, which are perennially too high in our society, they lower. Brain is protected. American ginseng, same thing. Perennially high cortisol levels, it lowers them. Better DHEA. Protective, nerve protecting. Holy basil, again, the same thing on the cortisol. So you got three different plants with different compounds in similar ways, helping pull that all-important cortisol, because we're just accepting the fact that for too many of us, especially this past year and a half, the stress levels, they just keep coming. No matter, you make wonderful efforts and you help others and you find a good place for yourself, but you can't shut out, kind of all the negativity. Unfortunately, it's pretty hard to do that. So these herbs help us react better because they do change some of the chemicals. Holy basil improves sleeping too, reducing exhaustion. Now, we also have other herbs in the formula, more than we'll mention today, but she just mentions a few that we combined with these adaptogens and how they play a direct role in this adrenal fatigue and and thyroid weakness. So hawthorn and rosemary, two of them that do wonderful things for the blood and for the heart, and happen to significantly strengthen the thyroid. Both of these herbs do. I was not aware until I heard Allison's presentation that hawthorn actually produces natural adrenaline. Not something I was aware of. Help easing an exhausted adrenal gland. They're both really high in selenium. We know that the importance of selenium with stress response because it's tied right to immune response and something that gets exhausted with lots of stress. So there's lots of it in this formula. Look at all of these are all ingredients in the formula, and they're not the only ones that have selenium, but they're those that are rated as higher levels. Hawthorn, red raspberry, sarsaparilla, ginseng, alfalfa, holy basil, yellow duck, licorice, aronia, all of them. And then you have the happy tree, mimosa, which is called the happiness tree. It's one of its nicknames. It's a wonderful nervine, a healthy stress response, and an adrenal support. It's about managing the stress better. Really, it's just about giving a little more calm. When we can see the stress and not feel that pang of anxiety, then a lot of those processes that interrupt our vital body functions, they don't get interrupted. And that honestly is the goal of all the products of Solle, is to help keep us in a better place where we are going to have to react to stress, and we do want to process it, right? We don't want to just hold it in, but we want to do it in a way that doesn't shock us too much. And that's why we have Albizia. It has been studied to show antidepressant effects, it's anti-anxiety, and this is the way it's traditionally used, and this is what Allison believes about it. Unresolved grief, deep sad, for whatever those reasons might be in life, Albizia is usually included in the nutritional program. And so it's part of AvantGreens. AvantGreens is about processing too. And that's why sometimes people, you remember Debbie, and I'm not sure, Becky, if you participated in that study, or maybe Lisa did. I noticed Lisa's on here today. When we first launched it, some people talked about when they first started using, it had a different name when we launched it, but when they first started using AvantGreens, they say they'd cry more. Do you remember that? There was a group that they processed through emotions, and that lasted for a little bit of a time, and then they just started to see themselves feeling, or they saw certain parts of their health really improve after that, whether it was sleeping or less anxiety. Deb.
I can't remember how long the study lasted, but I was one of those people like Rachel who had so many unresolved issues come up during the use of this. And I know it's different for adults as it is for children. Do you remember yesterday we had a testimonial be shared about a 2-year-old girl who's now 2.5, who started using AvantGreens just a few months ago because she was looked at by the medical community as being ADHD, which I think is kind of crazy to lock a 2-year-old child into that. But since she's been taking the AvantGreens, she is a more balanced baby, and she is a very happy baby, and she's not as hyperactive.
Yeah. Isn't she taking, Debbie, half
She's taking half a scoop a day.
Yeah, because she's only 2.
She's only 2, and she calls it her apple drink. I guess to her, it just tastes like apple, and it looks like a green apple to her when they mix it, and they just mix it in water. Do it in a little bit of water and give it to her during breakfast. But yeah, it's really interesting how this Albizia works differently in adults as it does in children. One of the beautiful things about how adaptogenic herbs work in our bodies, and how some herbs are not quite adaptogens, but have that effect.
Have some of those properties.
Yes, one of these, yeah.
Doesn't she go to like I thought she said
she goes to a little preschool. The girl goes to a preschool.
Her teacher there noticed she's just a lot more balanced. She manages
She pays more attention in class. She is a well-behaved, is what the teacher says. She's so well-behaved now.
Yeah, like a little daycare. Yeah, and that's the thing, because back to your point, there aren't a lot of unresolved issues at that age, right? That's what the beautiful thing about kids. They just get it out and say it and do it, and but so this thing we're talking about with adults, sometimes you can start using this and notice you're going to process some things emotionally, whereas kids, it's just a really good nutrition. All those sprouts, all the nutrients plus the adaptogens. So here's a little couple of capstone comments. Dr. Christopher quote that Allison included about sarsaparilla, which is another key ingredient in this formula. She says it contains cortin, which is actually one of the hormones secreted by the adrenals, cortin. the body will actually die if this hormone is stopped. Or if there's a small or insufficient amount, and this is the part I wanted to read, the body becomes becomes easily ill and develops nervous depression and general weakness. Easily ill, nervous depression, general weakness. So many maladies are related to adrenal weakness and exhaustion, including low blood sugar. So people should take note if they're striving to rebuild their adrenals, because sarsaparilla may be able to help. So that's yet another ingredient in the formula that was pretty darn key. Now, I didn't talk about this yesterday. There's actually these final 2 slides, but I wanted to show this one because I didn't mention there is a good amount of probiotic in this formula as well. And so probiotic, again, they're involved in virtually everything. They're just involved. We just don't know. We don't know all the ways. We keep learning more and more about how they produce key vitamins. I mean, we talked about this with our longevity launch. So we do have an important heat-resistant probiotic that's in this formula as well. And then, so she finally just says, look, final slide and comments. Protein and sugar. So I would clarify that with the wrong kind of protein, common proteins that are used, right? If it's all from meat, it will wear out adrenals. Protein and sugar wear out the adrenals. Sprouted chia feed the adrenals, which is in this formula. Hemp seed protein, it's going to feed them and build them instead of wear them out. High in protein and potassium. Ginger and red raspberry are all anti-inflammatory. And red raspberry itself is, lots of studies show that hormones are more imbalanced when red raspberries in the diet. So she's just throwing out a few more herbs that are all in AvantGreens directly related to our discussion today. So I hope that's been helpful. Her presentations are fascinating for me. Like Debbie said, it's been a few years. So it's nice to go back and read through them because you get 100 ideas. Debbie said that yesterday. I got all these ideas because you realize just what's in it and how it's at the center. This formula, it's just nutrition at the center of everything. It's why it's month 4. That's why it's one of the building block months of the 4-month program. But and Debbie's program builds you, and Letty, everyone who's using this, it builds you for a couple months before you jump into this, which hopefully is helpful as well. Especially for us.
And I wanted to say, another thing that came to mind today when we were talking about licorice root, and we didn't talk about this yesterday either, is I remember, and you've compared me to her so many times, so I use her name in reverence, Maria Caballero. And when you said licorice root has been really misunderstood here in the US, she was one who really misunderstood it because she didn't like to use any traditional Chinese medicines because they all contain licorice. Oh, and licorice can really mess your blood sugar. Well, guess what? Because of the way we use the licorice, and you're using the whole plant and an active ingredient extracted and magnified, you're not going to get the blood sugar issues with this product. And so I love
you'll improve them. You'll actually improve the blood sugar issue.
Right. It actually improves it. And Juanita has a question in the chat. She asked, can AvantGreens be a replacement for veggies for those people who don't like green veggies?
Yeah, and it's going to have 100 times the nutrients that they'd ever get from different veggies they're trying. I mean, look at the variety here. The only thing you're not going to get as much of in this, if you're just eating a big plate of veggies, all that fiber, right? There's still fiber in this. I mean, a fair amount. I'm trying to think of what the fibers are.
I tried to find that yesterday and I couldn't find the exact.
Yeah, not on the, I have to look, I'll go look it up, Debbie, because it's not on the bag, but
I know that when we talk about the net carbs on there, the net carbs is pretty low. So I just love this product. It doesn't say how much fiber, but it has 3 grams of net carbs. So, there's probably enough fiber in there to bring down the sugars from all of the natural fruits and grains that are included in here and seeds that are included in here. But I really wanted to talk about that licorice root, because for people who will tell you if they see the ingredients and say, oh no, I can't use a licorice root because I am hypoglycemic or I am diabetic. No, that's not going to be an issue with AvantGreens. And I love that. I love that it's so versatile, just like every other Soul product. And as Greg mentioned, in the 4-month program, you know, you have the Power Chi program, which incorporates your Cinemate, your Soul Complete, your AvantGreens, and your Renew, as well as the Power Chi and the Vertizymes. And so I love this program for this reason alone, okay? I love it for every reason, but I always say there's a reason why we started with balancing the body first, and then doing 2 months of good detoxing, and then do the nutritional aspect. Because with Dr. Christopher's name popping up, I'm sure most people remember the ABC of herbs is to activate, balance, and then cleanse. We're actually doing it opposite. We're doing balance, cleanse, and then activate with nutrition. And there's a good science behind that. And the reason being that when you are detoxing, as you're incorporating the oils in every month of the program that you're using, you are touching on releasing those emotions slowly. So by the 4th month, when you are doing AvantGreens and you are using the contentment oil, you are really playing up the happy tree. You're really playing that up. You're really helping the body be happy because you've had a chance to detox. And when I look at that, you know, and I won't take any more time. I know, Greg, you're probably needing to run and jump off, and you're welcome to stay on as long as you need to. But I don't want to go without telling you, team who is on here today, that when you talk about adrenals and thyroid, you really do have to look at the respiratory as well as the urinary systems. Why? Because emotions and sadness affect the lungs. We're living in time of pandemic when there's a lot of stress. That causes the adrenal glands to produce more cortisol and all of these things. And it helps balance the kidneys as well. When you look at this, because in Chinese philosophy, there's not one system that works independently of the other, right? They all work together. And that's what I love about adaptogenic herbs. When we look at this 4-month program, we are looking at something that's going to help the body find balance first, because this is where everybody goes bonkers nowadays. There is no balance in a lot of people's lives, right? So that's the first issue that we want to resolve, is that when we have body systems that are out of balance, everything gets affected. And so while I think of AvantGreens as being this amazing product, I wouldn't just say, oh, I'm just taking AvantGreens and I'm going to be good with everything else in my life. This is all I need. They all work together for a reason. So when you look at moving from balance into doing a deep cleanse, this is where your emotions start to stir up. When you're doing a cleanse, you're activating your liver, you're activating your pancreas, you're activating your kidneys, you're activating your heart, you're activating your respiratory system through the immune system. So the responses are going to be different. That's why this product in the 4th month with your Soul Complete is a perfect way to add it to your daily regimen with Soul. I can't stress enough how firmly I believe in when we know, and there's no wrong way to use Soul. Please understand that. You can use it however you want. But when we look at the difference between that little 2-year-old child who's using just this product versus an adult who starts using this product and then has to go through the sadness to get to the happy, kids don't have anything to really be sad about unless they are physically being harmed. Do you know what I mean? Kids are so resilient and their emotions are so true and they are so free. And that's why if you give children these drink products when they're little, so Cinemate, so Vital, you know, the Renew, maybe not Excel necessarily, but you're incorporating Soul Complete, Infatuate, and AvantGreens with children, you're going to see a really balanced child who will grow up to be a really balanced person. And so we're trying to go backwards, right? We're adults trying to find that happy tree again. So we have to do it step by step. It's how you eat an elephant, right? Bite by bite. You can't eat the whole elephant at once. But I firmly believe that when you get to that 4th month, that's when AvantGreens is really able to do its job, because you've detoxed. You've been able to take out stuff from your body. You take out emotions out of your brain, out of your liver, out of your chest area, and your kidneys are able to function better. Your thyroid functions better. And what I love about adding this at the end is now your body has probably lost a lot of inflammation, has been cleansing, and you're starting to lose weight. When you use this product in the 4th month, you actually see the belly fat start to go down and disappear, because you're adding the Power Chi and the AvantGreens. And in both studies, I participated in both studies. When you do it that way, you really don't lose like a lot of pounds, but you lose a lot of inches, because that belly fat starts to go smaller. Okay, and so fat and lean muscle, they weigh the same, but the cell is different. So if you look at a pound of lean muscle, is only going to be about this big, but a pound of fat is going to be 5 times bigger. So fat takes up a lot of space in the body. And once your body starts effectively burning that visceral fat that's been accumulated and you're detoxing, now that shrinks. And so you may lose 8 pounds, but you'll go down 2 sizes in clothes, because the fat is going away. And that's what I love about this program, is that you will see a lot of great benefits, and you will see things that you didn't even imagine could happen, is that the smile comes back to your face. And I can tell you personally, I stopped using this product. I have gone through the 4 months, and I always end up doing the initial balance again or the cleanse again. And I haven't really given much thought to doing the Power Chi program over and over again. And I think that when I stopped and I really stopped using this, I fell into that. And he didn't show that picture today, but Dr. Allison has a slide that says, I can't even. And I don't know if he showed it, and maybe I was just looking down at my phone, but I fell into that trap of these last few months where I haven't been taking this product and saying, oh, good, Juanita, he showed it. Okay. I physically found myself saying, or crying in a corner saying, I just can't, Heavenly Father. I just can't today. I can't with this. I can't do this. I can't became my mantra every day for the last 3 months. And that's not usually me. And so when I said that it's good to revisit these presentations and learn about a product again, it really opens your eyes and opens your mind to a lot of things. And then you can just say, oh, I stopped taking that product. And it's been that long. Oh, okay. Well, maybe that's why I've been acting this way. Do you know what I mean? And so good, just little good reminders. I hope you found some value in this. And next week, we are going to talk about how AvantGreens can help us in the detox mode, how it can help the body detox. So I hope you found some value in that. I look forward to seeing all of you again, or as many of you as possible. And I will see you in English again on Monday as we start talking about the 4-month system and how to use it. If you want to join us for that, you're welcome to do so. Did you have a question, Lisa? Or were you just saying bye-bye? I think she was just saying bye-bye. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Love you. Thanks so much for joining.